Hello, Tony Buxaviles here at the Body House, my personal training studio at 333 Sand Lane in South Beach, Staten Island. I want to talk a little bit this time about exercise and putting exercise programs together. There's so much information out there regarding putting exercise programs together or prepackaged exercise programs. I mean, we've seen things like P90X, Insanity, Hip Hop Abs, Get Fit in 6 weeks, starting from Jane Fonda and Richard Simmons to Billy Blanks and the people that we have out there today. And I'm not saying anything negatively about those things because some of those people have been pretty big influences on me. Believe it or not, I happen to really like Richard Simmons. I think Richard Simmons is amazing. And not because he's the most fit person or his knowledge or even his personality. I think that his ability to connect with people and draw people into his world and have them follow and adhere because they know that he cares is just an amazing thing to be a part of. And of course, he's got his unique signature, shorts, the hair, and all that stuff, which is pretty much part of what keeps people involved. He keeps them. It makes him memorable. But more about exercise programs. Today, we have things like boot camp and CrossFit is a big one. And all these things are great. I mean, I love anything that gets people off the couch from watching cable, eating corn chips, and getting them out there fit. It's a great thing. But what I really want to discuss is the fact that many people think that exercise is a voluminous action. I used to think that myself. I remember back in the days, I'm a child of the 80s and the 90s, so that was when I was at we refer to my fitness peak, which is in my 20s and then early 30s. And so a lot of people believe, at that stage of the game that exercise is a voluminous event. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that during those times of our years, most of us, especially those who were athletic at earlier parts of our life, that's when we have the greatest level of aerobic capacity. But it's easy to think that exercise is such a voluminous event. And during the time period, the 80s and 90s, it was so common, and I was one of these people who went to the gym. We had to lift for an hour and a half and do aerobics for another hour. And the belief was if you weren't hitting it 5 to 6 days a week, 2.5, 3 hours at a clip, that you were not exercising properly. And you know what? That is faulty thinking. Exercise is not a voluminous event. If there's any voluminous event, it's lifestyle, because lifestyle is what travels with you everywhere, everything that you're doing. Your lifestyle follows you, how you eat, how you think, how you rest, how much water you consume, or whatever kind of fluids you consume, your flexibility, all those things follow you. So that's the volume, because that is the exorbitant amount of the time of your life. You're doing that, hopefully under control and hopefully in a way that's helpful to you. But the exercise itself does not have to be voluminous. See, exercise is not a voluminous event. I'm going to say it again. Exercise is not a voluminous event. Exercise and exercise planning is a recipe. It's a recipe. Now, why do I say a recipe? Let's say that you were going to be putting together some type of recipe. Let's choose an unhealthy one just for the fun of it. You're baking a cake, because most of us can understand that. And the recipe calls for a cup of flour, cup and a half of sugar, teaspoon of baking soda, and I don't know the rest because I don't bake. But let's say that it calls for those ingredients. So you have a cup of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, a cup and a half of sugar, etc., etc. Putting in 3 cups of sugar and 4 cups of flour is not going to make a better cake. It violates the parameters of the recipe. So that's the key. That's one of the reasons why people hire folks like me as fitness consultants, fitness coaches, health coaches, etc., because they want us to create a specific recipe for them to be able to get what they want. So the first thing we have to know is what? We're making a cake. What type of cake? Is it red velvet cake? Is it chocolate cake? Is it strawberry shortcake? Is it carrot cake? Yeah, I'm making someone hungry right now talking about this. But we have to understand what type of cake that we're making. So what kind of results are you looking to see about getting from your training? Are you looking to see about training for a mud run like Spartan Race, Warrior Dash, Tough Mudder, Rugged Maniac, the list goes on and on and on. Are you training for that? Are you training for powerlifting competition? Are you just training just to be stronger? Are you training for functional daily living? Are you training because you want to perform a marathon? Are you simply looking to lose body fat? Are you looking to see about making your muscles bigger? You know what? It all depends. So to say that everything that you do is going to be about the amount of exercise that you perform, you're wrong. It's just that simple. Again, you got to figure out what kind of cake you're going to make. Then you got to figure out what goes into the recipe of making the cake. Now, here's the whole thing with the recipe. It's not just what you do. It's what you don't do. Sometimes the exercise, especially when you start to reach higher levels of maturity, we're talking 40s, 50s, and beyond, is that recovery becomes more of an issue, even with athletics. Sometimes you have people who are conditioned. They get to the point where they're so conditioned because they're training for competition, you raise the level of possibility of injury. And if there's anything that you want your training to be about, is getting the results without getting injured. Because if you get an injury, guess what? You don't come back to your training at the same level. You have to do the rehabilitation and then work yourself up from the fitness part to get to where you were prior to the injury. So you don't want to get injured. Big, big key. Figure out the recipe for yourself. What is it that you're looking to accomplish? The steps, which is the recipe to getting there. And if you don't have the recipe, what do you want to do? You want to hire someone who does. Very simple. Not voluminous. It's doing just enough. Not too much to get the end result correct. So again, if you're looking to see about getting the recipe, you can always visit us here at the Body House. You can contact us right here at the information below. Right here below. We'd be more than happy to help you. So once again, this is Tony Buxavilas at the Body House with this week's motivational moment. And I'm going to end this as I always do by saying, always remember, put your heart and soul in your goal.